I think one great and usually pretty affordable resource that you can use is a bookkeeper. Because if you don't have your books together, you're gonna hate tax time, you're gonna hate having going to the bank to get a loan on another property. And you can use websites like Upwork to get a virtual assistant who lives in the Philippines, who works for investors that you pay $6 an hour to record your income and expenses. Another one to kind of tie into that is having a property management software on your team, because they do so much automation for you and do a lot of work that an actual property manager does by creating automated text to tenants, automatically entering what their rent is when they pay it into your bookkeeping, different things like that. And then definitely a handyman. If you're not doing the maintenance yourself, you need a handyman, somebody who can take care of the maintenance. And then to add to kind of your tech stack on your team is a Google Voice number. So your tenant isn't texting or calling your cell phone. And if you decide to go to Hawaii for a week and you don't want to be bothered, you can, pay your friend $100 for the week to take your Google Voice calls, as you can just assign it to any phone you want to. So I think starting off with just having accurate bookkeeping, hiring a bookkeeper. You can also use Stessa.com. That's a really great bookkeeping software that's specific for landlords and really easy to use if you want to try it yourself. But bookkeeper and handyman, I think, are the biggest people you need on your team to start off with.
Cool. So I definitely want to get into some Q&A from our attendees tonight, but I also want to talk about 90 days. Wait, who hasn't done a real estate deal yet? Who'd be their first property? Okay, cool. So 90 days is a long time. It's an eternity. So if you were to break it down into, what would be the first 5 days for people walking out of this room tonight look like to you?
You have to know why you're investing in real estate. Like, what is it that you want? Why did you decide? Is it because you want to leave your W-2? Is it because you want to live on the beach and not have to work? Is it because you want to build another business and you just want, somewhat passive income from real estate? So once you decide what your why is, you have to determine what you'd want to do. How active do you want to be in the business? Because you could say, oh my God, my friend is making so much money in short-term rentals. I should do that. And then you get into it and you're getting messages from guests. One of my co-hosts, Tony, just got a message from a guest saying that, they rented a tiny home and they complained in their review that it was too tiny. And it literally says that the name of their listing is tiny home. And so you're having to deal with that and you're like, I do not like this. And maybe you didn't run your numbers based off hiring property management. And even though you hire property management, you still have to be an asset manager and you still have to do certain things for your business and for your property. So really understand what your why is, and then understand what are the things that you would actually enjoy and you want to do, because you don't want to end up in another job that you hate, just like your W-2.
What was your why?
Oh, real quick, and then I would just want to add to that, then you define your strategy as to what your actual niche is going to be.
Okay, we'll get into strategy. So what was your why? Because you just got into real estate for no reason.
So the first thing that everybody probably thinks of is whose why is their family, their kids, their future. They're doing it for their kids. Raise your hand. That's part of your why. Okay. Well, that's too easy. That shouldn't be your why, because it's too easy. You need it more specific. You need to be what do you want for your kids? Do you want, we're trying to buy a lake house right now. And our why right now is because we want our kids to have those memories at the lake. We want them to say, hey, I can't go over to my friend's house, but you guys come to my lake house and come with us, so that our kids want to spend more time with us, basically, when they're older. But that is more, that gets me more excited than just thinking about, I want my kids to be set for the future. It's what are the core pieces of that why that really motivates me? And for me, it's more short-term goals. I have no idea what I want in 10 years or what my goal is in 10 years, but 6 months, a year, I'm super good at that. I can figure out something I really, really want, and that becomes my why. And it usually pretty much incorporates my kids. Like last year, my why was to pretty much have my kids come to almost every conference or event that I went to. And they did. Sometimes all of them would come, sometimes one would come, and it was amazing. And now I say no to a lot of things if they can't come. So really dig down deep and figure out what something specific, and that is going to motivate you more than just I'm doing it for my kids.
My follow-up question, and you destroyed it, was has your whys changed? So every 6 to 12 months, it
Yes,
probably
it
has
does.
changed. So yeah, my why when I graduated college was get drunk for cheap, and it's changed since then. So thank God. So let's talk about, take the first 5 days, figure out your why, then figure out your strategy. Like how can you amalgamate or reconcile your why with your strategy going forward? And like what strategies are there out there? I know you've actually done quite a few of them. So tell us about that.
Well, I think if you're first starting out, the best one, if you're in the position to do this, is house hacking. There's no doubt that is the easiest barrier of entry, and you can significantly reduce your living expenses. You can get great loan products. There's just so many benefits with house hacking, and I feel like it has the easiest barrier of entry to get into. The other strategies that you can consider are long-term buy and hold, and that could be turnkey, or that could be doing a BRRRR where you're rehabbing the property. There's short-term rentals. There's mixed use where you're buying commercial and residential. There's small multifamily, there's single family. So even as you get into like, I want to do a long-term rental, even from there, you really have to niche down and get even more specific. Because a long-term rental could be a commercial property releasing to a business. A long-term rental could be one single family home. It could be a 6-unit, or it could be a 40-unit. And the operations of those are so very, very different. And even the purchasing, the acquisition of them. So you really have to define, even niche down. Same with short-term rentals. Do you want a short-term rental? Like we have 2 that are literally in an apartment complex. There's not really any attraction to buy. It is literally for people visiting that town because everybody hates the one motel that is there. And that's how we get all of our guests. So it's like, it's fairly easy. Nobody's looking for an experience. It's just they're looking for a clean, comfortable place to stay when coming to baby showers, weddings, visiting family in the nursing homes, things like that. So, or maybe you want to do lake houses. There's so many different intricate parts of it. And then on the commercial side of things, that's a whole different animal in itself too. But there you can even niche down as to how specific you want your tenant to be.
Totally off topic, but why did you open up a liquor store?
Well, also to add on to the strategies too, you can always do like self-storage or campgrounds. Like you can get as wild as you want with real estate. But I wanted to open a liquor store because the same investor that I worked for, he owned a liquor store. And I got to see a lot of the financials and what a cash cow it was. And so it was always in the back of my mind. And then there was this building that I loved. And it was a mixed-use building. And it would be my first one I ever purchased. And I ended up buying like 8 other units from this investor. And he owned that building and he wanted $90,000 for it. And I was just like, I don't know what I would do with it. Well, as time went on, 2 years later, his son reached out, my dad's got to sell this property. We'll sell you this property and another duplex for $60,000 if you just take both as is. And I was like, well, maybe. So I started thinking more about the liquor store. Well, in New York State, there's some crazy liquor laws, like they'll deny you if you're too close to another liquor store. So I get out my map of Erie County and I look, and there's 2 towns that literally don't have a liquor store near it, and this building was in one of those towns. So I decided, okay, maybe I can go for this. And I said, I'll take them both for $40,000. So it was a 4-unit with 2 commercial units and 2 residential upstairs, and then a duplex, okay? And then, so this was 2019. And I bought them for $40,000, but while they were under contract, I separated the contracts and I wholesaled the duplex for $20,000. So I was getting my little 4-unit for $20,000. So this made me feel very, very comfortable in taking a risk and opening a liquor store because I really had no expenses on the building. We ended up renovating 3 of the units in the building, and we put $90,000 into it. And so we ended up getting it appraised for $220,000. And because we hadn't put a lot of money in it, we only ended up doing a cash out refinance of $100,000. So even still today, like our mortgage payment is so low that if, you know, our business, the liquor store, couldn't pay rent or things like that, it would be like, that's not a problem. It won't matter. But yeah, it was just the attraction of starting a liquor store, I guess, and you know, to sound cool, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, the reason I asked this question was selfish because I've been advocating for Ashley to buy her lake house in the Finger Lakes.
But not Canandaigua, he said, because it's too expensive.
I mean,
waterfront.
Based upon the type of deals you get, I mean, you can get a steal in Canandaigua, like just wave your magic wand, right? So, but yeah, Seneca Lake or Keuka Lake, then you can actually write off the trips, like, you know,
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going out here to curate wine for my liquor store. So let's step forward a little bit. So strategy, like then what's next? Like what are the next like 10 to, you know, day 10 through day 30 look like in the 90-day journey?
Yeah, so that's figuring out your plan to actually implement it and taking the next steps. So you're gonna find out like what's your budget, what's your price point, where's your money coming from? Are you getting a loan? Are you using cash, home equity loan? Where's the money coming from? And that will give you an idea of how much money you can spend if you need to go and get pre-approved. The next thing is choosing your market, okay? Because you wanna know how much you can spend. Because if you spend all this time analyzing a market, you're like, okay, most of the duplexes are in a $400,000 price point, but then you realize you're only pre-approved for $200,000, that market's not gonna work for you, okay? So money, market, okay? And then how you're gonna source deals in that market. Are you gonna do direct mail? Are you going to cold call people? Are you going to work with a real estate agent? So like some of the things that I recommend right now in today's market is word of mouth referrals. This definitely should not be your only way to source deals, but telling anyone and everyone what you are looking for, what you're trying to buy, and that's probably how I've gotten a majority of my deals is from people saying, oh, my cousin is selling her property. Would you be interested in buying it? We're under contract right now with my dad's friend's mom's house, and she passed away, and they're selling it to me for $230,000. And right now, if we did nothing, we could sell it for over $300,000. So like those are where the sweet deals are, where people just want to get rid of it. The other way is connecting with a real estate agent and getting those pocket listings, where the agent is getting approached from a family or from someone saying, I want to sell my property. And the agent's saying, before we put it on the MLS, I have a buyer for you. And that's what my agent did. It's brought me in, come look at this deal. Do you want it? And we negotiated a little. Yep. And then they put it on the market as pending. So that is a great way because you're not even competing with anyone and you're getting first look at the property too. So those are 2 really great ways. And then who here loves to scroll Zillow, even though it's a time waster? Because I definitely do. And what you should be doing is scrolling Zillow in reverse. So you're gonna set it so that your filter goes to newest, so that you see the newest listings, and these are always the most exciting. But you're gonna go all the way to the bottom of the page, and then you're gonna go where it has the little page numbers and go to the very last page. And that's where you're gonna start looking for deals, where the properties are sitting. There's probably motivated sellers behind those properties, especially properties that were listed in the winter, in the fall. The market wasn't, at least in Buffalo, the market wasn't super hot right then. And then as soon as spring hit, now it's like everybody is gung-ho again. And so all those properties that were listed just as the spring market hit just got pushed aside and nobody's even looking at them. So we ended up getting a 5-unit under contract because it had been unlisted throughout the past year and kind of just sat, and all these new other properties came up, and they did seller financing, 10% down at 3% amortized over 30 years. So like those deals are out there, and it's haunted.
So I have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
So the reverse scrolling, will that reverse carpal tunnel? Like, okay, so let's talk about deal sourcing a little bit more, because I know you've said this on your show. I don't think you've ever walked up to a house that had long grass and knocked on the front door. You were actually afraid for somebody else to do that for you. You mentioned this before. So, like, for somebody who might be not like into like pounding the pavement and making cold calls and that sort of thing. By the way, where are my wholesalers here? Raise your hands. Okay, we got Tony back there. We got Joe. What's your name, sir? Steve. Okay. Wholesalers are those kind of people that will do that stuff that you don't want to do, right? So, talk to me about like how like you've worked like your deal sourcing strategy that's kind of in alignment with where your like, I guess, style and comfort level is.
That's why Daryl is here, because Daryl's the one that talks to people for me. So when he first started working with me, he actually we did a huge direct mail campaign, and we set up a Google Voice number to his phone, and we thought we made a big mistake by sending out the mailers where they ended up getting to people 2 days before Christmas, so December 23rd, and we're like, oh my God. We were just so excited to get them out, and then they hit everyone. December 23rd, December 24th, his phone rang nonstop. We couldn't believe it. But that was like, and he was pretty new to real estate then, so he didn't know a lot of what to say or anything, but it was like great practice for him to just be thrown in it and me not have to deal with it. But we also had a friend come to visit from Seattle, Washington, and he works for Tarl Yarber, which is a large investor out there, and he does a lot of cold calling, direct mail, and he basically does all their acquisitions and some wholesaling. So we're driving around and he sees this property. He's like, there's, paper in the windows. It looks like it's been foreclosed on, whatever. So we stop, go look at the property. It's definitely vacant. And so he gets on his phone. He's, okay, I know where the person that lived here, their cousin lives. It's right by your house. Let's go there, see if they know what's going on with it and if we can buy it. I was like, no. And so him and Daryl went, and they, went and knocked on the person's door and talked to them, and just like, I do not like confrontation or like have randomly stopping at people's houses. So that is definitely not my strategy, but I will look up their information and I will find their phone number, find where they are, and then have somebody else call them for me.
Excellent. I mean, that's like testament to, you can customize this business to your style, right? So let's fast forward a little bit. So I think we're at day 15, maybe? We have to get you out of here in 15 minutes. So, so walk us through to kind of like step by step through there, high level. What is like, what does somebody do next? They have their strategy, they have their why, they have their plan, they have their team, right, in terms of deal acquisitions, that sort of thing. Like, what happens what is the actionable type of stuff they can do after that? So
then you're analyzing deals, okay? You're going through and analyzing them. If you need practice, you're literally just going on Zillow, pulling up a random property and analyzing it, okay? You're working with other investors, that in your network, say, hey, can you look at this deal? Is there anything that I missed? Getting, that practice in. Then you're making offers. So you're making offers on properties, and that really is the big actionable thing that's going to move you forward. And you should be doing these steps in this order because it's going to make you feel more confident and comfortable making offers. And that's how you want to feel, is you want to say, I know my market. I know what I can purchase a property for. I know what type of renter is going to want to go in there. I do know what I can rent it at. So when you feel that kind of comfort, you're going to go and you're going to start making offers on properties. And then one day you're actually going to get a property under contract. And that's where it's all exciting and everything is wonderful. And it's like, finally, I did it. And that's where the real work begins. And then you're going to do your due diligence on the property. You're going to get insurance on the property. You're going to get the property taxes in your name. You're going to get the utility switched into your name. You're going to do, if there's tenants in place, you're going to do an estoppel agreement to have the tenants fill out. And then once you close, the work starts again. You have to notify your tenants of how they're gonna pay you rent, or maybe the renovation starts, things like that. But if you get so comfortable and confident in how you've built your team, how you analyze deals, that you've studied your market, you're ready to make offers. And when you make that offer and that offer is accepted, it'll be really scary. And that's where you're gonna do whatever you can to second guess yourself and say, you know what, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. I'm not gonna pay the earnest money deposit. And that's where you'll do or you're just so motivated and you know what your why is, that you've spent your time saying, okay, this is where I'm unsure of where I ran my numbers. This is where I don't know if this is right. You're gonna do whatever it takes to reach out to people and to find out, can you help me with this? Is this right? Or, you know what, worst case scenario, I'm wrong on this, and this is how I'll fix it later on if it becomes an issue.
All right, we got 10 minutes left. Q&A. Who's got questions for Ashley? Or do you want me to hog the mic? Okay, yes, sir. Please, can you stand up and so we can hear you?
Yeah, I'm Dale Byrne.
Here, do you want my mic?
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
My question is, what negative factors have you had throughout your career with real estate, and how did you overcome those negative factors?
Ashley. I should
okay.
give you this.
Oh, that's
We're really dealing with like AV issues here. So
No, that's okay.
go ahead.
One thing that quite recently we've had an issue on, and I've definitely had it as an issue in the past, is tenants destroying apartments. And we try different things to mitigate that, try screening differently. One thing that I have learned has kind of helped is that they kind of show they're not paying, and we kind of know they're destroying the apartment a little bit and they're just not going to be the tenant that we want anymore, we right away have our attorney involved. And our attorney will try to actually negotiate and make a deal with them. And so that could be cash for keys. Let's just get you out. You have some money now. You can go and find another place to live. Or maybe that's putting them up on a prepayment plan. Recently, we had a property where Daryl dropped off a dumpster and helped them collect all of their garbage in the front of the yard and put it into the dumpster because they just could not collect things and leave stuff all over the place. And so that's actually kind of been something that has helped us if we do notice a tenant is not taking care of a property, is to see ways that we can kind of help them out, and along if they're not paying rent either, is what can we do to be proactive about it instead of, okay, you know, we're going through the slow New York eviction process.
That's smart. Hey, do you want to switch? I'm actually going to
Sure.
go around.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else have a question? We can actually bring the microphone up to you. Anybody?
Remington, do you have a question? No? Do you want to ask everybody a question though, right? Yeah, bring your
Okay.
prize up. Each of the boys actually brought some prizes to give away, so we could do that now. But you guys have to be able to answer their questions, okay? Here, come on right up here. Okay, tell them your name and then ask your question, okay?
Hi, my name's Remington Kehr. My question is, how tall am I? and if you guessed it, you get this mug.
Can you stand up like on the floor? Let's try to take a guess here. Oh, up there. 7 feet tall, I'm guessing? 4 or 5.
Tell them
You guessed 48 inches.
Okay, there you go. Colt, you want to come do yours? Gunner?
49 inches.
There you go, man.
Hello, I'm Gunnar Clinch, and if you could guess the brand of my shoes, I'll give you this mug.
Lift your foot up.
No, you got to hide them.
Yeah.
Oh, he's hiding them.
Yeah.
Okay, Colt, it's your turn.
someone to pull out $5 gets this cup.
There. You don't have to give me change. Just pay me back in the first, okay? Just ask your mom what that
He's
means.
definitely the middle child.
Hey, thank you so much. Any other questions before we let Ashley go and I go on to announcements? And also, we have an exciting free giveaway tonight, so you want to stick around for that. That's my hook. Any other questions? Yes, okay, absolutely. All right, Corey, let's go.
So going back to some of the things you look at in terms of like those top 5, walk me through like some of the thought process you have when you're choosing your market.
Well, I've really only invested in one market. I just invest like in the south towns of Buffalo. But I did recently invest in Tonawanda, which is kind of near Niagara Falls, which I'd never invested there before. I actually have a list of like 30 different links that I use to analyze markets, and I can send them to Matt so you guys can get them. But a big thing that I'm looking at is the first thing I always do is like the Google Maps walkability and just like look at what's going on in the neighborhood there. And then I'm looking at what are the comparables. So like if I have like in this scenario, it was one of the pocket listings, and I'm looking at, okay, what are the properties selling for? Like if they're already, throwing out a price at me that's above what other properties, I'm just not even going to look at it. But in the market, I want to make sure that there's either no apartments available or very few, that it's not super saturated with apartments in that area too. I'm looking at what is the price to rent ratio. So what is the purchase price? What can I be able to rent it for? And then I'm looking at like schools. So if I'm looking at a 3-bedroom, most of the time it's gonna be a family that lives in there. Not all the time, but there is, especially if it's a 4-bedroom. So I'm looking at the school district. Is this a school someone wants to be? Then I'm looking at 3 job industries. So there could be one big Amazon plant there. But what if that plant closes? I want to have 2 backup industries. So maybe it's a hospital, maybe it's a factory. So looking at that. Then I'm looking at the crime. What is the crime rate there? Is there high crime right on that street? I think it's like crime, I can't think of what the website is, but there's a website that actually shows you, has these little dots on it, where you can actually click on the dot and it will tell you like the exact crime that was reported there. So like if there was a burglary, there was a theft, Crime Stopper, is that it? Yeah, crimestopper.com. So those are kind of the big things that I look at. And then also, is there like some kind of like shopping, retail, like what's the closest? Are you kind of away from that? What's the walkability to that? And those are the big things that I'm looking at in those areas.
All right, got time for 2 more questions. Raise your hand. Okay, back here. My pseudo property manager.
So, forgive me if this is too personal. I'm assuming you started your
Here,
real
speak
estate-
closer in the book.
Oh my God, sorry. Forgive me if it's too personal. I'm assuming you started your real estate journey solo.
No, I was married, but I
You
did
were?
do it
Okay.
solo.
But you were the one that had the idea to get into it and everything. So what's it been like being a female investor in this world of lots of gentlemen?
It is a huge advantage. I would not be here right now if I was a male, because I wouldn't be the podcast host of BiggerPockets. They obviously wanted 1 male, 1 female. How many male applicants do you think there were compared to female? I had a way better chance of getting that. It's more intriguing to be a minority, I would say, in an industry. You get more opportunity. And so I think that it's a huge advantage. I think some women think that maybe contractors will take advantage of them or things like that, but it can be an advantage. So if you're going and you're talking to a contractor and he already is trying to pull something over you the day you're walking the property with him, then you already know, okay, I'm not gonna hire you because I do actually know about real estate and I'm gonna find someone else. Where if Daryl's walking a property with a contractor, he's not gonna BS with Daryl on day one. He's gonna wait and just do something and try to cover it up without Daryl knowing. So if it is a bad contractor, where I have a better opportunity of learning that up front than later on. So I don't think that it's a disadvantage at all. And I think that I'm so focused on my own projects, what I am doing, that I honestly could care less if somebody is looking at me and being like, she doesn't know anything, she's a woman, or whatever, doubts you may have. I could care less. So I think if you just stick to what you know and you're confident in that and you're building your business, then it shouldn't matter how you're perceived by anyone.
First hand up, gets last question. All right. Hey, it was like a tie.
Oh, not me. I'm sorry, I was waving.
What were some of the highlights on the resume that you sent into BiggerPockets, and maybe what was a story or two from your interview process?
Yeah, so I didn't really, their application was basically if you had an idea for a podcast, what that idea was. Mine was a podcast on building wealth for your family. And so the producer called me and said, well, that's kind of like one show, not a whole podcast. But somebody else, submitted an idea to do like a rookie investor and new investor. We'd like to have you apply. And I had started an Instagram account with the sole purpose of getting on Brandon Turner's podcast. And right before they actually announced they were going to do a new podcast, my episode had released. So I was like kind of just fresh in their brain. I had been bubbly during my interview, I guess. And so there was 6 people that were paired up. One was a couple, and we had to do like a sample interview with someone, submit like tapes of us talking and interviewing. And then they eventually called, my first co-host was Felipe Mejia, and they called us and said, you guys got it. And then Felipe got fired, and now Tony is on the podcast with me.
Tony Robbins. We need to get Tony out here. All right, so let's give a round of applause to Miss Ashley.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
So I actually do have a book giveaway that I have 3 signed copies. Stay tuned to the end.
I have some
All right.
more stuff to add to that too.
Okay.
The boys
yeah,
wanted
3 signed copies of 90 days to your first rental property.
Oh,
So you'll find out how to get those later on. So,
Maybe it's ready.
but I really sincerely appreciate you guys making the trip out here. The 2.5 hour trip also.